Picture this. You're in your kitchen, midway through making a grilled cheese sandwich. Suddenly you point a spatula at the toaster and say, "No, see, that's exactly why the third season was better, and I won't hear otherwise." You pause. You look around. The toaster doesn't argue back. You're completely alone. For a split second, you feel that tiny prickle of embarrassment. Am I losing it, you wonder? Is this the beginning of a cinematic descent into madness? You quickly check if the window is open, hoping the neighbors didn't hear you explaining the cinematic parallels of Ratatouille to an appliance. But here's the thing. You aren't crazy, and you aren't alone. In fact, you're engaging in one of the most sophisticated cognitive tools the human brain has ever evolved. Welcome to the truth about why you talk to yourself, and why it might actually be your greatest superpower. We've all been taught that talking to yourself is a red flag. In movies, it's the shorthand for a character who's detached from reality. But in psychology, this is known as externalized self-talk. And almost every high-functioning human does it. Think of your brain like a chaotic film set. You've got the actors, your impulses, the lighting crew, your emotions, and the craft services, your hunger. Without a director, it's just noise. When you talk out loud, you're stepping into the director's chair. Research from the University of Wisconsin-Madison suggests that talking to yourself isn't just a quirk, it's a performance enhancer. In one famous study, participants were asked to find an object in a grocery store. Those who repeated the name of the object out loud, literally walking down the aisles whispering, "Apples, apples, apples," found it significantly faster than those who stayed silent. Why? Because language isn't just for communication, it's for visual processing. By saying the word, you're priming your visual system to recognize the target. You aren't just talking, you're upgrading your brain's search engine. You're essentially turning on a highlight reel for your eyes. If you've ever worked in a software engineering job, you might know about rubber ducking. When a coder is stuck on a bug, they explain the code line by line to a literal rubber duck on their desk. By the time they finish explaining the problem, they usually find the solution. This works for us non-coders too. This is what psychologists call cognitive offloading. Our working memory, the mental RAM we have available, is surprisingly small. We can only hold onto about 4 to 7 chunks of information at once. When you try to solve a complex problem entirely inside your head, your RAM gets cluttered. Your thoughts loop, collide, and honestly, they get stuck in traffic. When you speak out loud, you move that information from your internal buffer into the physical world. You're using your ears to process your own thoughts, as if they were external data. It forces you to organize your logic into a linear structure. You can't speak 3 sentences at the exact same time, but you can think 3 thoughts at once. Talking to yourself is essentially a way to force your brain to slow down and file its paperwork properly. It transforms a messy cloud of ideas into a solid, manageable list. Here is where it gets really interesting. Have you ever noticed that when you're really stressed, you stop saying, "I can do this," and you start saying, "Okay, your name, you can do this"? This is called Iliism, referring to yourself in the third person, and it is a psychological cheat code. A study published in Scientific Reports found that people who use third-person self-talk are significantly better at regulating their emotions. When you use the word I, you are immersed in the feeling. You are the anxiety. But when you say, "Why is your name feeling stressed right now?" you create psychological distance. You're no longer the person drowning in the wave. You're the lifeguard watching from the shore. This self-distancing lowers your heart rate and allows your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, to take back the steering wheel from the amygdala, the panic center. So if you're giving yourself a pep talk in the bathroom mirror before a big date or a presentation, don't feel weird. You're just practicing advanced emotional intelligence by treating yourself like a friend that you're trying to help. We need to address the elephant in the room, though. Not all self-talk is pleasant. We all have that inner critic, the voice that pipes up at 2 a.m. to remind us of that embarrassing thing we said in 2014. The problem isn't that you're talking to yourself, it's the script you're using. Neuroscience shows that negative self-talk acts like a physical stressor. It triggers cortisol, the stress hormone, which actually shuts down the creative parts of your brain. However, instructional self-talk, telling yourself how to do a task, and motivational self-talk actually improve motor skills and endurance. Athletes do this constantly. A tennis player isn't crazy for shouting, "Feet, move your feet," at themselves. They're using verbal cues to bypass the noise of the crowd and focus their nervous system. The goal isn't to stop the talking. It's to hire a better scriptwriter for the voice in your head. When you catch the critic speaking, try to interrupt it. Literally say out loud, "That's enough. We're moving on." It sounds silly, but it's a physical boundary for a mental problem. Interestingly, we don't just talk to ourselves when we're alone. Have you ever accidentally muttered something under your breath in a crowded elevator or a quiet library? This is often a form of social signaling. Sometimes we talk to ourselves to signal to the people around us what we're doing so they don't get confused or startled. If you're rummaging through your bag and mutter, "Where are those keys? I know I put them here," you aren't just talking to yourself. You're telling everyone else, "I'm not a suspicious person frantically digging for a weapon. I'm just a disorganized human being looking for a way to get home." It's a way of narrating our lives to maintain a sense of social order. It's the brain's way of saying, "Don't mind me, I'm just navigating this chaotic reality." It helps us feel seen, even if the person seeing us is just our own reflection. So when does this become a problem? Usually the truth is that talking to yourself is a sign of a healthy, active mind. The only time it's a cause for concern is if the talk is strictly involuntary, intrusive, or accompanied by hallucinations, which is a very different neurological neighborhood. For 99% of us, talking to yourself is just a sign that you are a complex being trying to navigate a complex world. You are your own constant companion. Why wouldn't you want to strike up a conversation? You're the only person who truly knows what you're going through. So you're technically the most qualified person to give yourself advice. The next time you catch yourself arguing with the microwave or giving a TED talk to your shower head, don't shush yourself. Smile. You're just checking in with the most important person in your life. Your brain is a noisy, beautiful, crowded place. Talking out loud is just your way of finding the melody in the static. You aren't weird, you're just well-directed. You are the protagonist of your own story, and every good protagonist needs a little dialogue to move the plot forward. And if you found this look into your own mind helpful, give that like button a tap. It helps me know that we're on the right track. And if you ever had a full-blown debate with yourself that you actually won, tell me about that in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. See you on the next one.